Lebanese President Joseph Aoun said on Monday he would do the impossible in order to stop the war with Israel, as strikes continue to batter the country despite a ceasefire. Aoun's comments came as the Israeli army carried out a series of strikes in southern Lebanon, while the Iran-backed armed group Hezbollah said it had struck a military target in northern Israel. Lebanon's health ministry said late on Sunday that 7 people had been killed in Israeli strikes that day, including 2 children. While a ceasefire was announced on April 17th and was extended for 45 days last week following U.S.-led talks, it has failed to stop the violence between Israel and Hezbollah, which have continued to launch strikes as they accuse each other of violating the agreement. Israel has also continued carrying out demolitions and issuing evacuation orders in the so-called Yellow Line, a swathe of southern Lebanon that Israeli forces have invaded and occupied, although officials have claimed Israel has no territorial ambitions there. On Monday, the Lebanese health ministry said the death toll from Israeli strikes since the start of the war had reached 3,020, with 211 people 18 and under and 116 healthcare workers among those killed.
Israeli forces intercepted a Gaza-bound aid flotilla off the coast of Cyprus after it departed from Turkey last week. It is the latest of numerous attempts of the flotilla to deliver aid to the Palestinian territory by sea. Gaza continues to suffer a severe shortage of food, medicine, and other essential supplies. Israel controls all entry points into Gaza, which have been under blockade since 2007. Footage from cameras on board the vessel showed activists wearing life jackets and raising their hands as a military vessel with Israeli troops approached them. Armed soldiers then boarded the boats, and the live broadcast was abruptly cut off. Unlike previous operations which were carried out during the night, the Israeli military boarded the vessels in broad daylight this time. Earlier, Israel's foreign ministry warned that it would not tolerate any breach of the naval blockade it has imposed on the Gaza Strip. It claims the flotilla's aim was to, quote, serve Hamas. Turkey, meanwhile, condemned the operation. It says the interception of the flotilla in international waters is an act of piracy.
Over 100 nautical miles away.
More than 30 people were wounded after Russia launched hundreds of drones and nearly 24 missiles across Ukraine overnight into Monday. The city of Dnipro and the surrounding central region of Ukraine bore the brunt of the attack, officials said. Damage was also reported in Ukraine's Odessa, Chernihiv, and Zaporizhzhia regions. The barrage continued a recent spiral of long-range strikes that have grown in scale following a 3-day ceasefire brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump, but which had little impact. Russia hammered Ukraine over several days last week, flattening a Kyiv apartment building where 24 people died. Meanwhile, in more than 4 years of war, Ukraine has built up its own long-range capabilities, unleashing one of its largest drone strikes on Russia on Sunday, killing at least 4 people. That has increased the pressure on Putin, whose army is struggling to make progress on the battlefield and who claimed earlier this month that the war is approaching its end. Still, there is no sign a peace deal is taking shape despite U.S.-led diplomatic efforts to end Russia's full-scale invasion.
The World Urban Forum, or WUF 13, has officially opened in Baku. Over 40,000 people from 182 countries attended, amid stark warnings about the global housing crisis. The statistics are harsh. 3 billion people living in inadequate housing around the world, and a further 300 million people are homeless. Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev opened the forum and addressed why it's so important.
The level of participation and the number of heads of state and government demonstrate that today urban planning is really something which many leaders think about. And as I said in my remarks, harmony between preservation of historical heritage and architectural heritage and need to modernize the cities should go hand by hand.
Sven Hauser, the mayor of Kalber in Germany, discussed the challenges of urbanization in Europe.
Ich glaube, das größte Problem in Europa ist, dass in den großen Städten deutlich zu wenig Wohnraum vorhanden ist und in den kleinen Städten zu viel. Das hat etwas zu tun mit der großen Veränderung, die in den letzten Jahren entstanden ist, durch sehr viel Völkerwanderung von Ost nach West.
WIF 13 is the second largest event to be hosted in Azerbaijan since COP29 and an opportunity for global urban communities to come together and find solutions for all. Jane Witherspoon, Euronews in Baku.
Iran used its appearance at the World Urban Forum in Baku this week to call for international support for post-war reconstruction. The country's deputy housing minister claims 150,000 homes were damaged since the start of the war, which began following joint U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. Euronews could not independently verify the overall scale of the damage due to multiple and contradictory figures. Kazemian also outlined Iran's broader urban pressures, which predate the war.
به هر حال ایران هم با توجه به جمعیت حدود 90 میلیون نفر و حدود 70 میلیون نفر جمعیت شهرنشینی که داره طبیعتاً چالش‌های شهرنشینی خاص خودش داره از جمله به هر حال افزایش تعداد شهرهای ما که به هر حال نیازمند خدمات شهری هستیم.
Rapid rural to urban migration has depopulated many villages while placing increasing strain on urban infrastructure. Kazemian said cities face challenges linked to water resources, climate change, and land subsidence. Iran is also highly vulnerable to earthquakes, which only adds to the housing crisis and makes rebuilding even more difficult.
Hundreds of road surfaces in western Hungary may be contaminated with asbestos. One of these areas is currently under construction in the city of Szombathely.
Igen, na hát ez például az. Ez az, tehát ezeket a világosabbakat kell nézni.
Tamás Weisberg, a geologist, says that on its own it is just a piece of rock, but it's its form that matters.
Mint egy kígyó beáll a légáramlásba, és egészen a hörgőkig le tud jutni, és onnan nem jön ki. És azáltal, hogy hosszú, ezért nem tudják betokozni a megfelelő falósejtek, és egy állandó gyulladásos állapotot hozhat létre. És ugye egy állandó gyulladásos állapot aztán idővel átalakulhat rákká.
Environment Minister Laszlo Gazdos visited the area, mainly inhabited by families.
3 megye érintett, és nem tudjuk még, hogy hova kerültek kövek az osztrák bányákból, amiből egyébként 4-et már bezártak. Még egy 5. működik, és onnan hoznak követ. Én úgy gondolom, hogy tárcaközi egyeztetésre kell ezt bocsájtani, és nagyon hamar mindenképpen a kormánynak döntenie kell ebben.
According to the geologist, the contamination may have happened due to a lack of knowledge and a legal gap, as there are currently no preventative EU measures.
Nem valamiféle szándékos környezetkárosítási helyzet van. Van egy joghézag, amiben persze a felelősöket érdemes keresni, de látni kell azt, hogy nem tiltották, annak ellenére, hogy ismert volt már, tehát tudományosan ismert volt, hogy bizonyos bányák tartalmaznak azbesztet, nem tudták, nem is akarták hatóságilag betiltani Ausztriában ott a bányászatot, annak az oka, hogy ilyenfajta törvény nincsen.
Már több mint 300 helyszínen mutattak ki szennyezést, 3 megyét egészen biztosan érint. Nem csak Szombathelyen, de Kőszegen és Sopronban is szép számmal borítottak be felületeket a természetben előforduló azbesztet tartalmazó kőzúzalékkal, például itt ennél a Kőszeg melletti horgásztónál is a parkolót. Kónyarita, Euronews, Lukácsháza.
The Urban Art Biennale 2026 is really an international show. We have 50 artists from 17 countries, from 3 continents, and it's really showing street art, graffiti, urban art at its best. We have the car-like installations like this behind me, which is sort of monumental fossil mobility, which is covered from a Pompeii-like dust cover, or we have the huge roof of Amparito, the writing on the roof of the Möllerhalle, which is really the biggest work in the show.
I think that it's so dusty and it's so old, but it's beautiful. You know, there's beauty in decay, and I think what I've done makes you kind of just perceive it in a bit of a different way.
It's like a nice place, people walking around, there are bees, there are beautiful flowers, but yeah, we still remember the history, and that's super important.